Hello and welcome to another episode of the Self-Made Podcast. In this episode of the show, I actually speak to my current boss of my one-to-one training gym, and that is James Campion. This is a really interesting episode because we talk every single day, whether it's about clients, whether it's about the health and fitness industry, whether it's about business, and often go off on huge tangents of really interesting conversations. The amount of times I have left work thinking, I'll quickly say hello to James and I'll be out in 5 minutes. 2 hours later, we're still going into some incredible conversation. I thought at some point I need to get him on the show and bring these conversations out to the rest of you. That being said, despite having a conversation with this man every day, this went deeper and more personal than I've ever had a conversation with him in my life. We talk here about how to get successful through adversity. And there's lots of reasons why James is successful through adversity. Mainly opening up HIT PT 1 month before the initial gym lockdown in Hong Kong. And in the 18 months that the gym has been opened, 8 of those months have been throughout gym closures and lockdowns. Yet he has not only succeeded and survived these lockdowns, he has grown into a second facility as well as more staff than when he started. So he's had incredible business success, but not just in that. He's also competed during the pandemic. He supported his partner who also competed during the pandemic. And we talk a lot about this episode of what do you think made him successful, gritted out. We talked about imposter syndrome. We talked about gold medal syndrome and how he felt after his shows and talked about his business. We talked about whether he's happy and the lessons he has learned from business and bodybuilding. This is a really interesting episode if you're into any long-term pursuit, whether it's business, health, any sort of endeavor. This is a great episode for you. So if you enjoy the show, please give us a like and share on your social medias, tagging myself and James. If you want to support the show, you can either give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform or go to our Buy Me a Coffee link to support the show directly and allow us to give you more free content. But without further ado, I will leave you with myself and James Campion. So, James, this is an interesting episode because I am sitting down with someone I see every single day, which I don't do very often on this show, being my current boss. So for people that don't know who James Campion is, tell us a little bit about you. And, you know, I think this will be a really interesting episode because the amount of times I've left work going, I'll just be here 10 minutes, I'll say hello to James. And an hour and a half later, we're still chatting away. I thought, we've got to get this on camera at some point. So tell us a little bit about who you are and why people should follow you and learn from you.
I mean, I'm not very good at answering this one, but I'll try my best in the sense that I think, obviously, we're both best known as actual personal trainers. In particular, we sort of work with people that want to have, it seems really obvious, but people actually want to get results from their training. So I'm sort of come from like the bodybuilding background. That was definitely where I got started, was just entering into bodybuilding, into the gym. I never actually wanted to be a PT. I think mainly because everywhere you go, especially in Hong Kong, PTs are just salesmen for, terrible companies. So it wasn't until I met a friend that was in UP that sort of showed me that there are gyms that are, they actually tailor plans and, nutrition for people that are struggling with this. And that's sort of where I embarked onto a PT quest. Was first in UP, and obviously you and I have both been through UP. Mm-hmm. We've learned a tremendous amount through that gym, and sort of, I think at some point we all just sort of like develop on a different path from that, or mold our version of it together.
But you find your own spin, right? You find like you learn the framework there, and you take your spin on it, and you find the things that you want to do in the industry.
100%. And I think that's been the fun, actually, is figuring out sort of like how do you want to incorporate that into your, yourself as a trainer or as a business. And I think that's sort of what, the next step for us was to sort of, what do we want to have under one roof and what do we want to be known as? I think the main sort of like word that was always there was we want quality. There's definitely gyms or people that are sort of more, we want to be the biggest, the best, known for, how much of a presence we have in the industry or whatever, which is cool as well. But I think the origin of sort of like the gym that we're in now was not to be, anything sort of like the biggest, best thing in the world. It was a small group of people that are very, like-minded. They've sort of got similar qualities in their personal training styles, and we can just operate, within that roof and keep ourselves insulated in this nice environment. But I think it's always developed, it's always evolved. And I think where we are now is sort of, our gym Hit PT, it's just sort of grown organically, which is a great problem to have. Like we didn't really want to be beyond sort of 4 or 5 trainers that we know well and we can keep things really, really, quality controlled in the room. But, more and more people reached out, more people, like obviously yourself, people who we wanted to align with that were, totally either completely what we want to do or something that can be additional to what we're currently doing that could improve us. And I guess that's where we met in terms of, we had a lot of discussions behind what can we do to be better for clients, for business? What can we do to improve ourselves? What courses are out there that can better us to better our, results, whatever. And I think it makes it very easy sort of like marriage at that point where you're like, well, this is an easy one. Let's just go ahead and let's join forces and let's put our best heads together and whatever, product we can make. So that's kind of what we're at now. And, I can say that I'm very, very happy with how it's gotten there. And I'm sure that there'll be things to change along the way, but I think we've also remained quite consistent with our message or our product, which is it's results based, right? And again, that sounds so obvious to people who are like, yeah, of course it is. Why is it not? There's just too many, trainers or gyms that sort of sell you on a result but never provide it. And it's because they may not have the education or the knowledge to do that, especially with difficult clients. So, without taking it on too far, I think myself, in terms of a personal trainer, yeah, I think I'd say that's number one. I'd say number two is a business owner, only from the fact that I think, the business that we're in is the people. It's the trainers in the room that are the business. So I like being amongst them on the gym floor. I like being a trainer amongst them on the gym floor. I like, when people are working early, working late, they're putting their all effort into their clients, into their business. I would like to stay in the mix with them and say, we're doing it together. Not so I'm running the business, you're just doing the PT. It is really nice to be amongst people who really care about their clients. They want results. They're not just there for an hour of money. They're here to give people what they probably haven't been able to do on their own or with another trainer or whatever. So I'd say that's sort of what I'm at now is sort of personal trainer / co-owner of a gym.
How do you find that balance? Do you find it's a hard balance to make between being, I hate the term in the trenches, but on the gym floor, getting stuck into it and being that business owner? Because as much as a lot of ways they complement each other, there's probably a lot of things there. The more time you spend on the gym floor, the less you can spend on the business and vice versa. And there has to be that divide. Like, how do you manage that balance between the two?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We had this conversation literally today. But I think the amount of conversations I've had with mentors and people who are far ahead of me, they've always said, you've got to, draw the line between, you've got to stop doing the PT. You've got to just focus on the business and things like that. And that would be great. And I would definitely like to be there at some point, but not because I want to stop training people, but because I have to from a time basis. Where we're at right now, like I said, it's definitely not me who's just running a business here. It's a team of people. You're a massive part of the education on the team, which requires a lot of hours to get through and to teach people and to pull them aside and have chats and, let's go through this client. That takes so much time. So I have different people doing different things that they're really good at. That I if I want to do on my own, I'm sure I'd have to cut out the PT and I'd be absolutely stretched from morning to evening. But it's people are Josh, for example, very, very good at just sitting down and getting personal with people, whether that's clients or trainers. Karen, she's obviously very good when it comes to just organization and numbers and staying on top. She's the gym mum, right? Like something that I'm terrible at, she's excellent at. So for me, actually, keeping part of the PT right now is totally complementary to what, I'm trying to do. It helps me stay with the clients. It helps me stay amongst the trainers on that level and have those similar conversations. So if we get to a point where we're, absolutely bursting with clients and we have to expand space and we have to go to different, countries, that's fine. But I'm pretty happy where things are right now.
I mean, I've spoken to a lot of business owners. Obviously, in general. Like we work with business owners. That's our client base. And I've obviously interviewed a lot of business owners in various fields, but a lot of fitness business owners on the show. And one thing that comes up quite often is it was a really hard task to first delegate. To be able to sort of go, when you built this thing, which is your baby, it's your invention, it's your thing, it's run by you. There's a quality you mentioned that you want to keep, and your results are a big part of that, and your client results are exceptional. Was it hard for you to start delegating? Because since I've come in, it seems that you've always been very open to that. It's always been very open lines of communication between everyone. You've always wanted to collaborate. Is that something you've always been like, or was this something that you've worked up to, and did you struggle delegating at first?
I think the honest answer is, I think previously I was very against delegating, if I'm completely honest, because I think when you're given an opportunity, and I think we've all got a little bit of a relation to this. You want to prove that you can do all the jobs on your own because you're capable, and that's a good and a bad thing, right? So it definitely taught me that I can say yes to everything, and I can do a terrible job at all those things if I take them all on, which is great because you learn different aspects, and you figure out what you're good at and what you're not great at, what you're naturally good at or what you're naturally just not very good at. So it helped me to understand that like you don't have to be good at everything. I think you can understand everything and from a bird's eye view, have a look at it and know how to communicate it, but you don't have to run it. You don't have to do it. So, upon sort of like the second attempt of doing this, I was more than happy to say, please join in. And again, the concept of doing this gym was not to, we don't want to go big scale and let's get, professional teams on the marketing. We want to get this person here and this person. It was more just, we've got some close people that we've worked together. We love working with each other. Let's do this as a team together and let's enjoy that. Everyone can have a piece of this. They can own it. They can contribute to it, and we can grow it together, rather than sort of like just saying, okay, I'm gonna take this all on, and it's going to be me, and I'm gonna just hire a bunch of people and try and take it all. It's generally the most fun is forming a business with people. And I think if you look at everyone who's gone in this process, they've completely changed from day one to now in terms of how they act in the gym, how they sort of like operate themselves, how they sort of take on tasks. It's 9-day difference, which is awesome.
I think everyone can relate to that almost feeling of finding it tricky to delegate at first. Like I've never run a business like you're currently doing, but I get that as well, where I'm naturally, I remember that Richard Branson quote of say yes first to anything and then work out how to do it later. And I sort of live my life by this. And when you kind of get all right at something, I don't want to hesitate to use the word good because I think there's always room to improve, but you have a level of expectation of yourself and of the quality that delegating that to somebody else, that will temporarily go down. But looking at it big picture will always go up. And I think the thing that helped me is I always look at hard work versus lots of tasks. Yeah. I think I remember look at times I used to compare myself to junior me when I was at UP, and it was like I used to do that commute from Wolverhampton every morning to London, 2.5 hours each way. Used to work from like 9 a.m. there to 8 a.m. there to like 9 p.m. Go back 2.5 hours each way, get 3 hours sleep, repeat. Yeah. And I always think sometimes when I'm, I used to beat myself up quite a lot if I feel like I'm not doing as much as they're like, God, I got up on 3 hours sleep and did that for 6-8 months, working tons of clients. Like, why is it that I have this ability to do that? And I think there's a difference between putting on one hat and really wearing it. And there's a difference between trying to switch hats all the time. And I think this is where the ability, like people talk about hard work versus working smarter. I think the way that balances out is that you pick the hat that is most fitted for your strengths and you work really hard, and then you find people that will support you in the other hats.
100%. And I think you said it the same way I've sort of gone through it, which is you do have to just do a load of hours, not get any sleep, and just go the hard route in the beginning to figure stuff out. Just get the experience, and again, kind of figure out what you don't want to do, what you don't like. But I think what again, like this is so cliche being like a bodybuilder, but what bodybuilding has taught me, and I know a couple of mates who have said the same thing. Like if you want to be good at at bodybuilding, you have to be super selfish to that sport. You have to, you could do multiple different sports alongside it, but you're not going to be that good at bodybuilding because it requires only training and then, only resting and recovering for the next training session. Eating on a schedule that allows you to be organized with your food and spread it out and optimize digestion, all that stuff that goes in it. Unless you are doing that every day for days, for weeks, for months, for years, you won't be the best version of yourself. So then, everyone says, if you just apply the way you are in bodybuilding to this, you'll be, great. Easier said than done, but it does seem to match up. Like if you are doing multiple different things, you could be very multi-talented, but not great at one thing until you say, if I'm going to pick something, I really do need to pick it and devote myself to it properly. So I think it is, you've got to spend some time going through everything and, figure out what you like and then say, okay, I've got to commit to this and I've really got to spend all my time on that thing. So, it really does work to have a bunch of people who are good at certain things. And you can just say, okay, I only do one thing too.
I really like that you keep coming back to, you have to work hard to find out what those things you want to do, which hat you want to put on. Because I think that it's something that now that, I don't know if it's the internet age, I don't know if it's the online training space, which we'll cover in a second, but you see a lot of people coming in and going, I want to be a niche of, I want to be a bodybuilding coach. I want to be a strength coach. I want to do online. I want to do in person. And they haven't actually just got stuck in and tried a bunch of things to find out what they like. Now, I again, going back to that first year, I was really PTing. Even before then, when I was at Virgin Active, I worked with everybody I could work with. Male, female, short, tall, scoliosis, diabetes, menopausal, elderly, teenage athletes.
Yeah.
And if I'd never gone through that way, could I really say what my niche was? I'd have an idea what I thought it was, but that's developed so much over time. And I think I gained 5 years worth of experience in a year just by the sheer volume of people that I saw, and I think that's a huge point that like you need to be able to get stuck in before you can actually find out where your specialties lie.
Sure. And I think, on that point, if your specialty is being a personal trainer with Gen Pop, by default, you must have worked with all these different kinds of people to be a good Gen Pop personal trainer. So, of course, if you're going to say that's who I am, you should have done the work anyway, right? Like, it's when people do start to go outside the personal training, realm, that things will start to get tough in terms of being good at all of them. I think, we've talked about this multiple times. If you want to be a good online trainer, you should be a really, really good in-person trainer. And I think it's 100% true. You get so much time with different people, speaking to them in person, that you almost know when you're speaking to an online client, the stuff that they won't tell you in person, you already know they're doing, because I've seen 10 versions of you and we've done it so many different ways. I know intuitively what is happening behind the scenes. And, this is an exercise we go through with all of our trainers. How do we problem solve someone to the point where it just comes down to, I've seen this person, this type of problem so many times, I can almost just tell you what the solution is. And that's just come with time, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the term general population client is thrown around a lot. And I think that's a really interesting term, because how it almost assumes that's one type. It's general, it's average. Like what we talked about when we mean general, there's so much variety in a general population client. It's like saying, if you're saying I don't like working with Gen Pop, it's like, I don't like working with meat. What, you don't like beef, bacon, chicken, fish. Like, it's so much variety in a general population client. And I always remember, like, I got the biggest variety of people early on in my career of like, I knew for when someone walked in the door at my old gym, who was going to take that client. Like the people that start developing niches. If there was this like smoking hot blonde client, like almost supermodel, I would go, okay, you're here for Luke, I'll go get him. You didn't have to say a word. There was one time when one girl came to reception, I went, oh, you here to see Luke? She went, yeah, how do you know? Don't worry, I'll get him. If it was 7'4", it would go to our manager, big jack guy.
Unfortunately for me, it was usually the dudes that wanted to get jacked. There was no
That's normally the way when you get big yourself, right? Everyone gets big to try and impress girls, then impressing other dudes.
Yeah.
But I always get used to get like someone comes in, sliding the foot, diabetic needle in the arm, I heart veganism on the t-shirt, literally the mouth drooling this way. And I'm like, oh, you're here for me, come on, But I'm so grateful for that. I am so grateful for me getting the tougher clients, because I've worked with such a wide variety of people that I can't imagine now doing the online work that I do. If someone says to me, you've got a niggle in the knee or an SI joint problem, what can I advise them to do if I've never seen this? Exactly. If someone's hurt their back doing deadlifts, I would probably just say don't deadlift. Whereas I can go, okay, go into a sumo position, lock your SI joint down, and that person now can continue their training pain-free with one little tweak. And when it comes to like online versus in person, right, there's a big push at the moment for people going online, more location freedom. And the pandemic has almost encouraged it even more because people feel it's an unstable income having a brick and mortar business. So obviously you started HIT PT in 2020. And when so many coaches are going online, what is it that made you zigged when others zagged? Why did you, because you did some online, why did you double down on the in-house stuff?
Yeah, actually, I've never quite asked myself that question, because I really enjoyed the online, because it allowed you to reach so many more people, right? There's only so many hours in your day and so much energy you can give to these people in one day in person. Whereas the online, 30, 40, 50 people you can start to communicate with and help. So I really did enjoy it. But for me, I definitely felt like, I think at the time, I was very much like, we need progress for myself. I need to step up in, my own career. So the first thing was online PT. That will allow me to reach more people. And then it got to the point where my schedule in the day was full, and then every other hour that was devoted to online training, including like Sundays, mornings, afternoons, evenings, I devoted to online clients. I'm completely saturated unless I hire somebody else who I can help to take on some new clients or whatever. So that was sort of where I thought, unless you're going to go down the online route where it's like we've got the version where you can be very specific, everything is tailor-made, everything is very customer service based, or it goes a little bit more general plans, automated updates. You might speak to me every now and again. It's a bit cheaper and I can reach way more people. And both options were presented. And I definitely entertained the idea of, let's have the more generalized plan that can reach loads of people. We can, do the marketing. We can get some people to shoot out messages and all that SEO and Google ads and things. Definitely works. And I'd like to do that. But I think at one point it did come back around to what we've done for so long and what we've done courses in and tried to develop ourselves in, and to actually be clients to other coaches ourselves, is to develop that specific, information that people aren't getting from general plans. So I was kind of pulling myself away from what we've always, sort of done. So I did sort of strip off the idea, like the general plans, the online stuff. I don't really have the passion. I would love to see it grow and be cool, but it's not my passion. So if I'm going to do something down this more specific, tailor-made sort of, customer service route, it's going to require more people to access more clients. So I think at that point it was just, I've tried the online. I like it for what it is, but it's not the one thing I want to continue doing. It's great on the side. It's really good for reaching more people, and I'll continue doing it for as long as I possibly can. But again, we've been in environments where you're with really, really exceptional trainers. You step into, a gym that is, like the ones that hopefully we're in now, where there's just so many brilliant minds. I love coming to work. I love chats with, yourself, with Josh, with anyone that we talk about. We just go and go and go. I couldn't ask for a better working environment than that. Whereas online, you're by yourself, or, you're in a freelance gym where there's these people doing random exercise. Like, have these people got a qualification? I'm not sure. Do they even pay attention? But I'm not seeing it on the gym floor. And that makes me feel horrible stepping into this room. So I think it did come down to, okay, I've tried that life and it's not for me. I want this cocoon, this environment of professionals who enjoy working with each other. They enjoy pushing themselves. They are all trying to equally build themselves and careers, and we can help one another. And that's where I sort of thought, you know what, let's take advantage of this lockdown. Rents might be low. We can sort of, bargain our way a little bit on the beginning. We can get things set up and we can start to grow as best we can. And to be honest, at this point, I think think we figured out we've been open for just over 1.5 years, and we've been closed for 8 of it. So we've been, closed for basically half the time we've been open. And at this point, obviously it's stressful. Obviously it's like it's frustrating, but whether this is the end of it or there's a couple more lockdowns to go, at the end of it all, we can look back and say our business is durable. It's battle tested. It can do the best under the worst possible circumstances. And I think that in itself has been a nice sort of reflection, a nice achievement to, you could follow the trend and say, well, we all went online, we did what everyone else has done. And as we were talking about today, you don't have to have a qualification. You can just be a set of abs and be online and take people's money and coach them for nothing. But I think what we've been able to do on a gym floor and keep clients going through pandemics and protests and all these things that have happened is the fun part. I think that's the part that we enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. And I always think when you're looking at, that online space of whether you're going low ticket, high volume, or like a more higher ticket personalized approach, which I'll throw the one-to-one business in there because what we offer is a higher ticket one-to-one premium coaching service.
Yeah.
And I always battle with this idea of people going, right, if we go cheaper and do more people, we can reach more people because more people will be able to afford it, and so more people get results. And I remember something that Jordan Shallow told me, and it really resonated with me, and like to challenge that mentality of the low ticket model, because the people that can't afford your service, if you make it cheaper, probably still can't afford your service. It's still a luxury item. And I think when it comes to coaching, I'm very much a believer in the high ticket model, because you can take on less people, you can work with them at a higher quality level because you're not spread too thin with 200, 300 clients and a semi-automated approach, which then gives you time to go and answer a question someone sends you on Instagram, to do something like this, to give free information that you wouldn't be able to do if you had 200-300 clients. Yeah. Like you just wouldn't have that time. And that's how you give back to the people that can't afford your service, rather than trying to offer them a half price product.
Sure. Yeah, I fully agree. And I think there's no right or wrong way of doing it, whether you do take one or the other, right? It comes down to your preferences. I think it has sort of, like you said, I would rather be investing in some things that make me better, that I can charge higher and produce better for less people. It only because I think we can all agree at this point, like we haven't done X amount of, courses or investment. How much have you and I put into ourselves?
I dread to think.
How much money, right? And you wouldn't have done that unless you'd actually wanted people to have better experiences in the personal training sessions with you. You'd just be like, well, I can do more, and then I can go online and I can get shredded, and I can get, pay $5 a month for my app that you can just subscribe to. Like it's not, I'm not saying it's that easy, but it can be done very, very easily. We've obviously picked a route where it's like, I would rather be known for my quality, what I can offer. And I think that's just, from trial and error, again, you got to try everything. You got to, try on different hats. You got to figure out what you want to do. And I think for myself in particular, being bred through a gym that has always expressed the highest level of quality, I'm now kind of stuck with that. I can't seem to, not a bad thing to have, but it's very hard to shake that and say, you know what, let's just go for the mass people and let's just get as much. If you get 1,000 people, I'm sure 10 of them are going to look really good. So, what's the difference?
Yeah, the machine gun approach to it. And I'm also like, the moments where I look back at my last 11 years in this industry, and the moments I probably had the most pride and the moments I remember the most, is the stories of times where you've really changed someone's life, really changed it. And I do you get that in the same way? You can work with a lot of people and change their lives a little bit, or you can work with a few people and really make an impact. I've worked with people that have been recovering from cancer who didn't like taking photos of themselves and took photos, did photo shoots. I've had people that couldn't wear certain items or couldn't go on holiday. I've had people who overcame eating disorders. I couldn't do that with an automated plan.
No, yeah.
And it loses its magic, I think, in my eyes.
No, 100%. I think if you were to describe your client base and my client base in terms of who do we attract, I think we both put our hands up and say, I like the difficult clients, the ones that come in. You're like you said, they've got all the problems in one person, I would like that client, even though that requires way more time, way more effort, way more stress. The process is going to be long and drawn out. They're going to go through ups and like what some personal trainers would class to be the worst client. That's the client I'd like to work with because you're the person that can, make the most dramatic change, and you're going to benefit so much more because you're in this position. You've got, overweight, in pain, bad results in the past, and sort of given up and depression, like all the things. If we can get those things back, that's a massive accomplishment. I think one of the recent sort of like testimonials we did was with a client who she's been training with me for like a year now. And again, when she comes in, she's so shy. She's so embarrassed to step into a gym. She's overweight, and when she's trained under this, sort of system for a year, what she told me in the last video was something that she didn't really explain to me during the process. And she said, I've always been fat as a kid, and it's been a huge insecurity with me because my family just keeps picking at me. They don't know how much it hurts, but it kills me inside. And I've always been known as the fat person. And I've never done working out. It's never worked for me. I've never been able to lose weight. I've tried diets. They don't work. And as soon as you get someone to that point, she started crying. I'm like, I'm going to start crying soon. Yeah. But it's like so good to get someone out from that place and show them that they can do this and they can continue and improve and whatever. There is a genuine sort of like want and need to help people through their struggles, rather than just I'm going to train you and I'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah. And it's sometimes even the things you don't even think about, right? Like I remember I did a few years ago, I had a photo shoot with a woman, and she got an all right result. She lost a bit of weight. Like she didn't come in like photo shoot shreddedly, but the proof that you don't need to sometimes. Yep. And she had some issues mentally with stress and family and food. And we just worked on solutions to all these things. And when she came to this photo shoot, she wrote the words, "I am strong," on her forearms, and just like had a shot like that. And like those things, like sometimes you don't realize the impact you're having until the end, and you ask, and you just went through the motion, didn't even think about it. And then you're like, whoa, okay, I didn't even realize that. And that's sort of quite a life affirming thing about, I suppose you'll get it online as well if you're good enough to reach out for testimonials. But it's one of those things at one-to-one where, like, I think results are built in the mundane. People come in looking for the sexy. They're looking for what's the training split? What's the fancy diet I need? When in reality, it's about doing the same stuff every day. It's quite boring in a lot of places. Yeah. But so you end up going through the motions, and you end up going to go, okay, just another session. And then you get to the end and like, yeah, but that ability to be consistent has changed my life. And it makes you realize what you do matters.
Yeah, and I think we've all had that period in our careers where things get a little bit like mundane, a little bit dry. You don't have that same drive you did when you were first starting PT, and you just want everyone to get in shape. But you find these different sort of mechanisms from yourself that can say, this can bring me back to inspiring this client or teaching this client, helping this client. As soon as you get these clients that get the feedback to you saying, you changed this, my life or whatever, crazy things you've had impact, that reignites you to say, okay, I need to keep doing this with people. And like you said, you could do this with people online, but just not to the degree, not that personal degree that you have with speaking to someone face to face, sit them down and helping them through their process. I think that is the part that, it's hard to drop away from, for sure.
What's like, because you've worked with a lot of people now, and obviously the gym's worked with a lot of people now. What's like the biggest story you've heard from either a client in the gym or one of your own that you were like, oh my God, I didn't realize we could have this impact?
I think I can't sort of like pick one amazing one, but I do remember sort of the process going forward, because like you said, people generally pick the coach they want to maybe look like. So I would generally get dudes who just want to get like some muscle on. So the first client that sort of, it kind of like the light bulb went off for me was when they're like, I didn't know I could lift X amount of weight. I didn't know I could get abs, or I didn't know I could be this, shape in this amount of time with, yes, it was tough, but it wasn't that tough. It wasn't crazy. When you get someone who's sort of like lower confidence male and they go to the gym 3 months and they become this like completely different person. We've got, the joke about a couple clients that I've had that literally were like just so introverts and so shy and so non-existent in social media or anything social, but they go through a 3-month transformation. All of a sudden, they're on Tinder. They've got a schedule of dates. They're all over the place. They can't stop showing themselves off. And it's like, it's hilarious, but it's brilliant. Like the difference in this person is massive. But I think, when it comes down to it, people will call that a little bit of a superficial goal, even though we all want to look good. No one steps into a gym expecting not to look better or not wanting to look better. We all start with a sort of a physical goal, but it goes on from there. Obviously, we know like there's a lot more deep-rooted goals that people have that they can't achieve, whether that be, like you said, the mental sort of side of things, the confidence, the self-esteem issues, or they've just been surrounded by people who don't know how to help them. But not only that, they continue to put them down. Like if you try to lose weight, that makes me look bad. So I'm going to make sure that I don't let you do that. And that's very common amongst friends, families, colleagues, everyone, right? So to be able to capture someone and say, I need you to be really open and honest about all these insecurities, all these issues, and tell me everything. I'm not going to come back with, you've done bad, that's wrong. How would you ever do that? You're lazy, you can't control yourself. None of that. It's going to be a teaching process. We're going to say, okay, why did you get that? What can we do to solve it? Let me help you. This is my experience. I've also done that. Let's do this together. And I think for someone to actually open up and spill all their insecurities to you, you're just their trainer. It does sort of open up this massive bond that you have with someone. And again, it could be a 2-year goal, a 3-year goal. A lot of the clients I think you and I probably have right now are these long-term clients that have just said, I love this process. I love being on a goal with something in mind, and I'll never go back. I don't want to go back to the non-motivated, sort of like slowly declining version of myself. I'm constantly improving, whether that be strength, size, leanness, movement, whatever. There's always a goal. So I think the only ones that sort of stick out in my head are the ones that have like that lady who have sort of, they've broken down in tears, or they've sort of like, they brought you a gift and say like, I don't know how to word it, but take this gift because I really appreciate everything that, we've done together. This is what we love doing,
You mentioned it was the first one where the light bulb went off for you. What did you mean by that phrase?
I think when you look at yourself, like, okay, I couldn't train people when I first got into a personal training gym because the only person I trained was myself. So yes, if you're exactly like me, yeah, we have a great time training and I'll probably get you, in great shape. But it's people who are not like me, different bodies, different backgrounds, different issues. For me as a first-time personal trainer, that was overwhelming. And I didn't know what people could sort of potentially do. You almost think, well, this person is mid-40s and they've never trained, or they've got injuries and a family, and, surely we're only going to get so far with this person until you commit and you show, that person comes out with some fantastic results, and they are so overwhelmed with the fact that they didn't know they could do this. They're a completely different person. That was the light bulb. Was the capabilities are massive. And I think for me, when I hear coaches talk, like the friends and the family that sort of put you down, there are certain coaches out there that will tell you what you need to hear. Whether, look, you're going too hard on this diet, you need to pull back. You're over obsessing over the scale, or whatever, you need to draw back. But there's other coaches that, because you have made success, they will say, yeah, but that's temporary, and that's just a quick fix, and that's not sustainable. There's a lot of people, they're generally not
sustainable word.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this all the time. If it's sustainable, it's obviously not working right now. So you've got to do something that's not sustainable to get you into a place where you can sustain that. Right?
What they're already doing is sustainable. Their 3 pizza a diet a day is sustainable. Like,
I can sustain that all day. Yeah.
You build sustainability into someone's diet afterwards. I think when someone comes in and says the word sustainable on day one, it's almost like I'm going to have that cookie because I want this to be sustainable when they're stressed, or I'm going to go out and on a night out on a bender because, and it doesn't mean you can't fit certain things into your diet, but it's almost a mindset of, I don't want to make any sacrifices. I want my cake and eat it too.
Yeah, and I do think that that's where we work with people that, like, if I'm not suited to you in your goals, I'll happily tell you there's a really great coach who does Olympic lifting over the road. I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you I can, but for most people, as we class them as general population, which is like what you quite rightly determined as the least general of categories, most of people would like to come into a gym to either look better, feel better, get healthier, get stronger and fitter, right? Like generally those 5 things is what someone wants to come in for. We can do that, but you have to understand that it's not going to be what you're currently doing or what you have been doing. So let's talk about that. Let's see all of your past history in training, diet, personal trainers, gyms, programs, F45, HIT 95, whatever you're doing. Let's break it down on why it didn't work. I'm not here to give you the unsustainable plan that you can never stick to, but whatever's not working now needs to change.
I totally agree. Couldn't agree more with that. There was something you said a little while back about getting people early on when you didn't have any experience other than training yourself, and almost building that confidence through getting people in shape. And this is something I think every personal trainer has battled with at some point in their career. And obviously, I'm assuming the same was true when you started a business. So what's your relationship with imposter syndrome throughout your career, or even your adult life?
Yeah, no, I think that's a real one. And I don't know, again, not something that I've really asked myself a question, because I do think a characteristic that everyone should be able to have is the ability to say, I'm not that good at what I'm doing right now. Like with the time that I've been doing this as a personal trainer or whatever profession, there is someone that is better than me, and that's absolutely fine. And I think the people that want to develop themselves will put themselves in an environment where they are not the best person in the room. They will seek out better people to be amongst them, to learn, to develop and grow. And I think bodybuilding has been a good parallel to draw upon. Is like, unless you're Mr. Olympia, you're not doing very good. I think in my head, you can do a lot better. If you're 170 pounds at 6 foot, you could be doing a lot better than right now. So I'm not sure if it is imposter syndrome, where you think, okay, can I step up to this plate? Because I definitely have a track record of just stepping up into something and saying, "We'll figure it out. I will find a way, no problem." But I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I definitely want to do the reverse and say, if I say I can do it, I'm going to do it to the best ability as I can. But again, if I can't do it, there's no way I'm going to say all these promises to you that is going to happen. So I'd say it's more of just a reality check of where you're at in terms of the field. Again, a great reason to have other professionals who are really good at what they do in the room to put you where you should be. Whether you're at the bottom or the middle or the top, it's not a problem. It's just knowing that you should be exactly where you are, and how to creep to the top is all that matters. So I don't think I've had the issue with particularly an imposter syndrome, but the standards have always been high. I would always require higher standards. And that's why we seek out mentors and coaches and anything that we can draw upon that we can just say, whatever you're doing, I'd like to absorb it. Like I'm happy to take that role.
Do you think it's you don't class it as imposter syndrome because you've reframed it as like inspiration or something that you can fuel you? Because I still call it imposter syndrome with me, because I always think there is definitely an inner critic in my head that sometimes goes, I'm going to be found out. I'm not as good as people perceive. And so, some of that is bollocks, and some of that is literally, okay, step up to the plate. But I think I've always been very grateful for my imposter syndrome, because I think if it wasn't for my imposter syndrome, I wouldn't have sought out the mentors I had. I wouldn't have gone out into my comfort zone and moved to places like moved to Hong Kong and done all these sort of things. It's that pursuit of being better that's got me to where I am. Whether it's where I should be, where I want to be, where I'm going to be in the future is irrelevant. But I needed that level of discomfort. Otherwise, I probably would have just stayed stagnant.
Yeah. I think you were probably talking about the same thing and framing it differently, or like framing the words differently. But we've come from a gym where if someone says, "How much do you bench?" and you say, 100 kilos. Well, there's a bench press right there. We can check that. And if you can, then great. But if you can't, it's real easy to show you're an imposter, right? So I think when you come through a gym setting where numbers and will talk basically, right? You can't naturally go and talk to people saying, "Yeah, I can do this, I can do that," and not expect to be found out to some degree. I think for a lot of people that's social media, right? Like they're not going to put their views and their beliefs and their rants online because someone's going to criticize it. Maybe some people don't know that, but the level of professionalism that you and I have come from, there's always going to be someone who's looking and critiquing what you're writing, to a point where people won't write or post things on their social media. But there's got to be a point where you say, I can't be too afraid to post something just for that, from that point. But I do need to make sure that I know my stuff when I'm posting something. If someone comes at me with an opposing opinion or whatever, I need to have something that backs my point up. And that's where healthy discussion, debate, and everything comes out, not arguments and just bitterness. I'd love to have debates. I'd love to also be proven wrong.
I agree.
I think the field that you and I are in is we're not selling a thing or a fad or anything like that. We're selling results. So if there's something that can make this result better, I can abandon what I thought I knew, and I can say, I've changed my opinion, or I've learned something new. That was bad, what I did, but now this is good. And there are a few coaches on social media that do that. And you're like, I love that. I love that you can just post the video of you doing a dumb exercise from 2 years ago and say, this is dreadful. Don't do what I did then. Do what I'm doing now. And a lot of people don't have that capability to sort of self-assess and self-criticize and improve. Whereas it's like anyone who can sort of own up to their mistakes. You can't yell back at someone who said, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I will improve next time. You can't get angry at that person.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think, it's not that there's a right or wrong either. Like, yeah, maybe with exercise execution to a degree, it's a little bit more cut and dry. But like with approaches, like you can have a differing opinion of me of how to get a result, and both of us could be right. And it's then creating a debate of like, why did both of these work? Is this the right thing for this person? Is there a better approach for this? If this both got the result, which one could be more efficient? And I think that's where this field becomes really, really exciting, because it is something where there's so many different ways to skin a cat that I just don't think you don't get in other realms. I don't think you get that in the markets.
100%. And I think that's the interesting part is you can have 10 different coaches on the same client. They'll all give a different approach, but they might all work. And I think that's an interesting thing. You shouldn't say my way is better, my way is different, but I'm happy to understand what the other 9 coaches did to get there. I think that's a discussion, we'd happily say, hey, I'd love to know what you did with that client, with that fantastic result. Would you mind sharing? Not, that guy, that person's terrible. You shouldn't believe that. They probably got that result through some, shifty things. It shouldn't be like that. And I think, again, you come back to who we are, what our client base is, and what we invest our time and money in. It's for the pursuit of a result improvement and all that thing. We will be happy to have a roundtable discussion with other coaches and share ideas, not sort of point the finger and say, that's different to what I know, and I don't like it.
And that's something we encourage regularly. We talked about the education within the gym earlier on, and having those roundtables and having those discussions and having the opportunity, twice a week, if not more, if you reach out and talk to the people around you, is encouraged. And I think that's something that is not found very often. You've mentioned a few times, talking about mainly about business during this chat so far, about bodybuilding, and obviously this is something that you and your girlfriend Karen are so super passionate about, hugely. Like, where did this come from? Like, what was your childhood like? Was fitness always part of your upbringing, or was this something you got into later on in life?
I think you and I probably have the same origin of the start of where we wanted to get into lifting, which was probably wrestling, right? Like WWF.
Triple H, yeah, 100%.
Triple H, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, I think everything that I watched had some sort of like muscular character to it, whether it was wrestling or if it was movies, Arnold's, Sylvester Stallone, like any of these people that appeared on screen, to me, they were muscular to a degree. So there was always sort of like, for me, that always caught my eye. And it wasn't until, when I think for me, it really kicked in university. Like, you kind of lift a little bit in high school, and people start sort of like knowing, oh, that guy trains, or that guy goes to the gym, whatever. He drinks protein shakes. But when I went to uni, I think that was where, when people you separate yourself from that life, you go drop yourself into you're the small fish in a big pond, and you're surrounded by powerlifters and big dudes, and you're in an underground gym in the UK. It's cold, it's hardcore. You're like, oh man, this is awesome. And I didn't really get along with anyone else in university that I could really, besides a couple of flatmates. All my friends were from sports, so I did like every sport. I was doing like American football, rugby. We did BJJ, boxing. We did like a whole load of different sports. But what we all had in common was that we would all end up in the gym. So we'd all have that sort of like common thing that, whatever sport we do, we're going to go lift. We're going to go, if you meet some guys in the gym, they want to pump before Friday night. And you get along with these are the people that I really got along with. So naturally my environment was people who like to lift and everything. So underneath it all, I've always liked bodybuilding. And I think that's just sort of something that, if you lift weights, you've looked at a bodybuilder at some point, right? And I think seeing the physiques from the Arnold era all the way up to sort of like the Ronnie Coleman era, the transition that it's made, and there's not one physique. There's not just the biggest, Ronnie Coleman was the best, in bodybuilding terms. Yeah, but I can't relate to that guy. He's 300 pounds shredded on stage. I can relate to someone maybe that looks like me, whether that's a wrestler or actor, or whatever. But the bodybuilding has always sort of like, it's fit my personality, which is probably a bit introverted, where I can focus, this is all me. I can set out my schedule. I deal with my training. I don't rely on teammates to either let me down or, we share the success. It's all on me, failures, success, whatever. I like that attitude. I like that single sport sort of mentality. And I think that's continued just to stick with me, whether I've been, really inspired to train, not inspired to train. I've always come back to bodybuilding as like, that's what I want to do. I enjoy, if no one saw me on stage or never took a picture of me, I'd still do it. I still love it. And I'd be in pursuit of being massive and shredded forever. Like that's the goal, because I'm telling you right now, it started a little bit for girls. And then after about a year, it had nothing to do with girls, because you don't go and do leg sessions and stuff like this to impress girls. You don't pile in 7,000 calories and be fat for a year for girls, right? Like there's a different motive there, and it was long gone from the girls. So I think, when you are willing to be an overweight fat guy who's trying to just bump the scale up for some size gains, you're pretty committed to this goal.
Yeah, what I think it's really inspiring about that story is it seems a really, really healthy relationship with the sport. And I find that you kind of get two rounds of people going into bodybuilding, in the sense of there's people that are into sport and it's a natural transition and going to the gym and they like the gym. When you looked at like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H, like, was it always about the physique? Like, I know for me, the physique was part of it, but I think, like many people that get into training, there was a level of insecurity there. For me, it was being noticed, and not being noticed, being bullied at school, and going and watching wrestling, and you see Triple H, who just has this air of confidence about him and the way he carries himself, and talking to a crowd and wrestling in your underpants in front of 20,000 people takes a level of confidence, regardless, whether it's fixed or not. And I think for me, that was the thing, and the physique just was the thing I had control over, that I felt if I got that, it would lead to this. Yeah. Was there an element of that for you, or was it always about the body? Was it always like, I want to look like that?
I mean, to be completely honest, I think we figured, obviously we both know Bo very well, and he's probably like, if not my best friend. And I think when you meet someone who's like just as nuts as you, like you say the same stupid things, you're like, we're on something here. So it wasn't until I started sort of saying these things to someone else and they were just straight agreeing, right? I think that point where we said, you know what we should do is we should get a workout in right before the rugby sevens. We're going to get this massive pump on, and we're going to walk past people and they're going to admire how fucking huge we are. Like, if you said that, if anyone overheard that conversation, you'd be like, absolutely ridiculous. What are they talking about? Why would you care?
Yeah.
And we had so much fun. And it like related back to the, Triple H and his underpants, whatever. It's like, I don't care what you think that I look like. I just want that kind of reaction from people sometimes. I just want to walk around and people are like, what the fuck? What's going on with that guy or those guys? You know, Bo would be in the toilet doing dips on the toilet seat.
Oh, man, there's no sentence that sums up Bo more than that.
Right. And I'm like, I'm cheering him on. I'm like, dude, keep going. Like, let me go and tag me in. It's like just normal people wouldn't think to do that in their lives. And I think at that point, you're like, you know what? I'm pretty into the fact that I like to put on muscle. I like people sort of saying, what the fuck is up with that? Again, you're not doing it for a female attention. They'd be like, that's gross. Why would you want to do that? Couldn't care less. In fact, it's not for anyone's real, opinion or approval or anything. I just like that reaction. And I think, watching WWF and people sort of reacting that way, and, as we know, you just get a load of guys coming up to you saying like, oh, like, can I touch your biceps and all this stuff? You're like,
what's your bench?
Yeah, what do you bench and all that stuff? And it's like, it's genuinely just, I think people are quite fascinated, and I was fascinated by it. So I just want to bask in it. And again, if you've got a friend who also wants to do it, it's like, yeah, we're going to do this ridiculous life together. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier on that if no one saw you compete or no one saw you on stage, you would still be in this pursuit of doing it. And we've had conversations in the past where you said, I don't like competing.
Yeah.
And yet you're a regular competitor. So if you don't like it, why do you do it?
Yeah, it's a question I had to sit down with girlfriend Karen and say, like a couple of weeks out from a show, every week that draws closer, I hate it more and more. And I'll sit down and be like, why am I like this? And yet you get more excited towards the day of the show. And I think, we all have our motives, but for me, I would happily bodybuild without anyone ever knowing. I'm happy to not be on social media or show myself at any capacity. I don't think I always had that. I always did sort of say to myself in my head, I want to look a certain way so that people sort of associate me with that. So if I'm not as lean or if I'm not as big, people might think that I'm not that person. I would, in the day, I would care what people look at my appearance. But I think as the journey continues, that's not really what you're concerned about. You genuinely look through the mirror and assess yourself how you want to see yourself. So I think for competition, the only reason I'd want to do it is because that's what motivates me to demonstrate improvement from the last time I was in that exact position. Because you can do photos side by side, but if it's in a different lighting, if it's a different room, different, all these things, they're not accurate. The only thing that I can sort of display for myself as actual progress is putting myself on stage, lean, basically naked, stage lights, whatever. I can there's no better feeling. And if I want to draw the best out of myself, it's also committing to being on stage, being judged, and really exposing yourself. Because otherwise, a beach isn't going to do it for me. I'm not going to get shredded for a holiday. I really don't care about looking good on the beach. I'm happy to be fully bulked, fat off season, whatever, and sit on the beach. I really don't mind. I need to force myself to compete, to draw the best out of myself. And again, I think at this last comp, I did say to Karen, like, come backstage, look at me, and genuinely tell me if I'm shit, and I will not go on that stage. Because I need to know that what I'm doing right now is actually worthy of comparing to the last time I was here. And I think as soon as I was done, I was like, great, cool. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's go back to a whole year of never stepping on stage, because that's the part that I genuinely like. Every morning getting up and doing the tick boxes and enjoying the process. And I've expressed this many times. I'm not sure why, but I don't care about the competing. I really do care about the daily process that involves that a lot of people can't do. Let's be honest. Like, I like the fact that it's tough, it's hard. It has moments where you're either dieting and suffering from no energy and no food, or you're overly fed and you can't eat another thing, but you got to stay up late to eat that meal. It's hard on both ends of the spectrum, but that's the part that is enjoyable as a challenge.
You mentioned in that earlier on in your training history, you were more concerned about what people thought of you, what people thought of your physique and how it looked. And then that doesn't bother you anymore. Now there's going to be tons of people that listen to this that worry too much about what other people think of them. What do you think changed?
Oh man, I don't even know. I think as soon as you see other people also go through their transitions of their body, image, when they're either super shredded and they're looking the best to get all the best photos, and then they can wear their worst version. You know that phrase, like if you're with a girl who can't take you when you're bulking and you're fat, she doesn't deserve it when you're shredded, right? I think people who are comfortable revealing that, they get, they have to look not great to improve, to look better. That's the process, right? If you're surrounded by people who genuinely enjoy the process of bodybuilding, you accept that, right? And I think this is where it's also a great thing to tell clients is, yes, you'll look great in this photo shoot when we come to the end of this cutting phase. But if we want you to continue to improve, you have to not look like that. Like that's not going to carry you with more results in that current, body fat percentage and food and things like that. So I think I'm married to the process of bodybuilding, which includes majority of your time not looking that good. But again, it's for the process of like 5 years from now. I want to look really good in 5 years, not in 12 weeks. Yes, don't get me wrong. A good 12-week cut where, every day things are improving, every week you're dropping, getting better and better and better. But again, it's not the root reason why I'm doing this is to be shredded. Otherwise, I genuinely would find it quite easy to be shredded all year round. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't want that. So I think for me, we're seeing other guys just openly discuss, this is the process. This is a real process. Enjoy it. And also, again, I want actual results in a year's time. I don't want to look the same in a year's time. And if it means that I need to be in this sort of off-season, not great looking mode, yeah, I'll do it. No problem. Don't care.
So you're obviously in this journey comparing yourself to other people that you've got on stage with, or what is the next step? You said earlier on about I'm going to throw myself into what is the next step up to see where my place is and be around better people in a bodybuilding that's often bigger people, leaner people. Do you feel bodybuilding has given you a warped image of what a good physique is like? Like, do you ever consider yourself small?
I think the majority of the time I've been lifting, I've never felt smaller, for sure. And I think that's because you recognize, right? Like, first time you hit, like for me, I was 160 pounds at, the height that I am now, which is like 5'11". And 160 pounds, my goal is to hit 180 pounds. And that is a big target for me. So, and I always tell myself, when I hit 180 pounds, I'm done. I'm happy. Then you hit 180 pounds, you're like, I need to be 200 pounds. So you keep raising the standard as you keep ticking off, the goals. So I think it's more of this, the further you go through it, the higher you're going to raise your standards. And it's just going to continue down that route of what people would class to be like, you're never happy. And the coach I've aligned myself with is so similar in my mindset. And that's why I've chosen him as a coach, because everything he says resonates very well. And he said one thing that was very, very, that resonated very well with me, which was when he sort of hit his peak of achievements, as soon as he got awarded that sort of, I think it was, the Arnold, and he got awarded this, position, things went downhill. Like things immediately didn't amount to what he thought they would be. His enjoyment is purely the grind, the suffering, the process, or whatever you want to use to get there. As soon as you get it, I don't really care. It does nothing for me. In fact, I feel a little bit empty and lost at this point. It's the point where I need to get back into the process tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll be upset. And I think it's a constant pursuit of the process and the results, not the trophy, not the, this paycheck or anything like that. So I do think that it's a typical training bodybuilding. You're never going to look as good as you want, but that's okay. I'm happy to put myself under that place rather than thinking I look good and I look not great.
Yeah, there's always room to improve, right? You mentioned like, when your guy won the Arnold and it kind of went downhill, and gold medal syndrome is a very common thing. You heard the phrase, right? People come off the Olympics and then they give up and they just sort of like, okay, now it's just Monday. I've worked hard for 4 years and now it's just the next day. And I think this is something that happens so often in bodybuilding and shoot preps. I know I've dealt with it. You work hard in a shoot for a shoot prep, and I'm sure it's even more so for a bodybuilding show, where everything, every meal, every bit of cardio, every movement is all focused on this one day. And then when this one day happens, life goes back to normal. And it's like, well, I've now doing the same stuff without that driving force. Is this something you've faced coming off shows? If so, how have you battled with it? Or, with clients even, do you see this when you finish their diet?
100%. I think I've definitely done all the worst things you could think, a client could do. I've done them a few times, I'm sure, to where you do. So like, let's say you do have a photo shoot or a comp or whatever, and you go with the most intense, insane approach because, tougher is better, harder is better, more lean is better. And then you don't set yourself up for, okay, once I've done the shoot or the show, what happens after? Well, you eat everything. Like I can eat a lot. And at that point, I can eat 3 times as much. And I did. I ate everything. And I gained a ton of weight. And I was fat as quick, like in the space of a week. I think I remember after doing my first show, I walked back into the gym in a full hoodie and trackies. So you couldn't see what I looked like. And people were like, whoa, you gained so much weight, because they were just looking at my face. And they're like, when people look at your face, you gain weight, you've gained a lot of weight. And it's, you can do this 5 times over. And this is where I would definitely agree with that sort of question you had about, does this apply to clients? 100%. Like if I've gone through all the mistakes several times and found out the solution, trust me, I'm going to lead you to the solution way quicker. It's people / coaches who have tried to get into shape and have failed, obviously, like as everyone would, to remain either in shape or do the appropriate exit strategy out of that diet and that, phase, to comfortably move their bodies into a neutral zone again. And if they fail once or twice, whatever, you can't then go tell clients, you're not capable of doing that. Yes, I've failed several times, and I'm happy to admit it. But after several times, you figure out, okay, I've actually figured out how to do this. And every time I do it again, it's better. Every time I diet, I'm better at dieting. Every time I reverse, I'm better at reversing. And for me to now speak to a client and teach them how to diet and reverse diet, it's second nature to me. It's not like, oh, can we do this? Or is this healthy or not? It's like completely textbook. And clients, if they worry, they're like, you're going to give me how many calories after the diet? Trust me, if you go through this process with me, we can show you that you not only can you stay in shape and look amazing, you can double, triple your calorie intake. You can be stronger. You can feel better. You can have far more flexibility with your diet. Your health markers are improved across the board. And if you want to diet again, it's going to be so much easier this time. Like, this is the process that we love to do. I'd love to make all mistakes first for you and then provide the solution. But, half of it is the learning game, right? Like we love just to throw ourselves in like you did before Christmas and basically said, I'm going to diet from probably my worst shape into my best shape. And you did it. And you basically kept within a couple percentage of body fat within that shoot over the last couple months.
Yeah. I mean, give or take, lockdown's a little bit tougher. But,
you definitely didn't return back to your start, right? Like you got a dramatically improved result, and all you did was follow a plan. And there was definitely a confidence about you saying, yeah, I'm going to be in shape. And I know there's people who are saying, nah, he's not going to be in shape in time, because they haven't done that. And then when you have just literally day by day stuck to the tasks, done the cardio, done the food, not a single complaint, let's make that very clear, done the sessions, the work, all the educational requirements you were asked to do, and you got in shape. And people are a bit like, oh God, he did it. And continue to also stay in shape. Again, no one's going to expect you to stay at that level of body fat percentage, because it's, like you said, it's not normal. But you haven't bounced back, you haven't rebounded, you haven't done all the, the crazy things people said, oh, that's going to happen. As soon as he stops, he's going to go back. No, it's not.
I think the big things that have, certainly during this lockdown for me was keeping an element of structure. Like, even if I weigh myself still every day, so I know if I'm getting too far one way, I have some level of structure on meals. And it goes through bad weeks and good weeks, but there's an element of routine that keeps me on the straight and narrow. And I think with the gold medal syndrome, it's sort of like, okay, keep to a structure so it becomes so habitual that if your autopilot and your default is now going towards that structure, I think is massively helpful. And you mentioned about the complaining thing. I think that's a huge thing. I think it's something that's not brought up enough. Your attitude dictates where you're going to go. If you moan and complain about a diet, you're going to crack on this diet. 100%. I know if someone is going to crack on diet before they crack, just from the way they talk about it, the way they talk about themselves. We know it. We all know people that they've tuned out of this diet before they've even really started. And you're like, right, cool. That we know where this ends. And I was very much like, I'm a very firm believer. If I diet, I choose to diet. It's not my job to take it out on anyone else. I shouldn't take it out on my boss. I shouldn't take it out on my colleagues. I shouldn't take it out on my partner. I chose it, so I need to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. I think people always draw to the fact that Karen and I do the same thing. We both diet and all that stuff, and they ask is it easy to diet amongst each other? At least we have someone that if we need to vent about, I'm just feeling so dead today, whatever. They will understand. They will sort of reciprocate. But at the same time, if she's generally on a diet more than I am, right, as we have different goals. But if I'm not on a diet, she is. I don't feel bad eating junk if I would like to around her, not because I'm trying to be a dick, but because she's in that place that there's no amount of temptation I can say oh, have this, do you want to try that she's going to crack on her diet. And again, that's your thing. And when I'm dieting, eat whatever the hell you want in front of me. That's nothing to do with me. You do what you're doing and I'll do what I'm doing. And I can happily do that. I don't have to look at other people. Why is that person eating that right in front of me? Don't they know that I'm dieting? It's no one cares. No one has ever cared that you're on a diet or I'm on a diet. It's not important to anyone else. So why would you make that? And I think when you can get to that point where you say, yeah, I've decided to make this diet happen. I don't need to affect people around me, but I do have maybe someone I can discuss, this is a reflection on how the process is going. This is how I'm feeling. This is my strength levels. Should I up or down calories? Should I be here in cardio? What should I do today? I feel a bit off. That's where you can learn and grow together.
Do you tell us a little bit about your last prep? Because your last prep was a very interesting one compared to some of the others, where you not only did you have to manage a business that was growing for the second location, you had lockdowns, and we spoke about managing your business during lockdowns earlier on, but you also had a last-minute trip to the States to support your partner, literally within 24 hours, fly out to the States midway through prep. What were some of the lessons you learned from this last prep, and did you find it harder dieting through a pandemic?
This was, like I said, really, really interesting process for me to actually go through. And, to frame it, it was, she wants to go and do a competition in October. And I want to do one in Hong Kong in December. So the plan was she would fly to the US to go and do her competitions. And I would stay in Hong Kong and focus on the business of my own prep. And that would align our goals perfectly before the end of the year, right? So that was how it was going to go. But she obviously got there and said, I'm really struggling with dealing with competition and not having anyone to help me with, which, if anyone knows, when you compete, even on your own, backyard, if you have no one to help you, it's a real struggle. You're dieted, everything's tough in life. You haven't got someone running backstage for you to help you do things.
Super lean and depleted by the stage as well.
Yeah, I mean, only people who know that when you're that lean, life is just tough. Everything you do is tough, right? So throw on, travel and new places and competitions and pressure and, the sponsorships in the audience and things like that. There's judges, it's everything, right? So, she said, come over. So at that point, I'm happy to say, okay, if I'm going to go to the US for 3 weeks and then we're going to quarantine in a hotel room for 3 weeks, I'm not competing in December. That's 2 months away. So what's the point in doing it? So I sort of canceled my competition in my head and thought, I'm going to the States to support Karen, and now I'm literally eating everything, right? It's the US, it's pancakes, it's buffets every morning. It's, every food that's in the US, we're doing it. And we're going hard. We still trained and everything. So, training obviously still fits into that. And to be honest, I quite like when she's competing because I can walk off and do my training in my own time. And, I get a bit of freedom to do that. So it's a proper holiday for me. And it wasn't until we got back and, we begun the quarantine in hotel. And I thought, I do still feel a little bit upset that I've not been able to tick off this goal of competing by the end of the year, because this is something for me that I want to assess myself. I want to see my progress and I want to, see where I come. I have to wait another 8 to 12 months before this happens again. So I think when we were in quarantine, I thought, at least try, at least give this one a go. It's in 6 weeks and I'm going to look not great. And this is right in the middle of what a, 12 to 16 week prep is currently based around. But if I don't at least try to pull something off, I'm going to be very upset with myself. And I know that I could have done something good. I think at certain points, you've done preps, you've done, photo shoots, whatever, you kind of know your body. And without sounding a little bit arrogant, I kind of know if I put my mind to something like this, I know I can pull this stuff off. It's just whether I'm willing to do it or not. And so I thought, okay, let's just give it a go. I'm not going to tell really anyone. I'm kind of just not going to put myself out there. It's going to be a personal task. And that means, I can sort of self-celebrate at the end if that's what it comes to. Yeah. And many times I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do this anymore. My body's not responding the way it should because of quarantine, not working out, not eating the right foods, being on holiday, not, time zones, all that stuff. The worst week of prep or whatever you want to call it was the first week out of quarantine, because as a bodybuilder, you do 16 weeks of prep to eat the same foods, work out in the same, workouts, exercises, progression. You do the same amount of steps, the same amount of cardio, so that you can measure like how your body responds to these things under these strict, variables. That's how my body, I can predict what my body will do. To then come out of quarantine and my body literally was like up and down from morning to evening at different weight, holding water, dropping water, like not looking full, looking overly, like there was not a single thing I could predict. And that's the weirdest thing to ever go through a bodybuilding prep, is not understanding what your body's doing. So I think at that point, it was like, we're just going to see what we can pull off. And I don't care if I look crap, then I look crap. But if I don't enter the competition, I'll never do it. So enter 6 weeks, push as hard as you can, do whatever it takes. And the thing that I really, really appreciate about actually doing it is this was a completely different prep from what I've done in the past. Past preps, as people kind of like generally, they generalize preps as you're going to be on low carbs, low calories, tons of cardio. And towards the day, you're just going to be depleted, and then you're going to drop water and you're just going to feel like crap. And that's good because you're in shape if you feel like crap. My coach is having me eating multiple burgers and like multiple carbs, like 500 grams of carbs. He's dropping cardio 2 weeks out, dropping steps 2 weeks out. And I'm kind of freaking out. Like I'm used to like really, really suffering right now. And you're going to feed me more and make me take more rest days and do less. He's like, yeah, just do it. Just do what I say. And I love being able to just sort of surrender to that process and not have my mind start to swirl and think of different things, because it will go off in a completely crazy direction. But to see the process of what I've done in previous preps and dieting really, really hard for my body, it doesn't work. It looks terrible. I revert to like the 16-year-old version of myself, just skinny, 6 foot tall. Whereas feeding myself like a ton of food, like loads of junk food, and really prioritizing doing less, it's like my body actually transformed within days, weeks, right? Like small time frame, to the point where I'm like, this is the best I've ever looked on stage. And this is by far the worst prep, in the sense that, holiday and quarantine and the minimal amount of time you've actually got to dedicate yourself. This is the best I look, and this is the worst prep I've had. So something is obviously right in that process. And for me to understand that has been massive for me in progress of learning myself and my body and all that stuff. But also understanding, if I'm going to prep someone for a bodybuilding show, there is not one way. There are many different ways, and you've got to try them out, and you've got to experiment with that person to see what works for them. And I never knew that was my method. This is completely different to what my competitors, who are the exact same size, height, and weight as me, they're doing something very different. And it's been very interesting to see that. But again, happiest thing I could do is to get myself on stage, regardless of the position, whatever. It's a tick for me for the end of the year that I can say, cool, happy to do 2 years of no competing and just improving.
Yeah. I always say this. It's weird how I don't think I've done a podcast since starting the show where they've not come full circle.
Yeah.
And you spoke about like not being aware that this approach would work for you, because it's so different from what you'd previously done with the grind mentality. But I bet, like, you studied this stuff, right? You study some of the similar mentors and some of the resources that I have, and you'll know about like things about like pulling back on inflammation later on in a prep, the benefits of feeding someone up and getting full to allow them to get drier. And it's not until you do it yourself. And like we spoke about at the start about coaches going through the process to allow them to have more empathy with their clients, it's this now is like you can hear it from so many mentors and understand it, but never really understand it until you do it yourself and you go, oh, that's what works. That's why that works. And you can take it on to any client, any prep, having more than one tool in your toolbox.
100%. And I think, the pursuit is to understand this stuff more and deeper and everything. And I think anyone that looks at bodybuilders or bodybuilding, like, steroids. So if you take more of that, that should work, right? Like that's the easy success. Yeah. And to most people that would think that is like, of course, I don't mind you thinking that. That's an obvious thing to say. But to understand that the least amount of things you can do to yield the most amount of results is so overwhelming to understand that process. Like, if it's just more is more, then obviously that everyone would do that.
But there's a limit. You hit a wall eventually, right?
Absolutely. And is that the reason people, bodybuilders are dying? Is it because they just kept going more is more is more is more?
That's another huge question, right? With the Shelby debate, like it's just if your only tool is a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah. And Shelby's a good example, but there's tons. There's literally countless different examples of competitors who have just pushed their limits so far and paid the ultimate price. And it's like, I think I've never had any illusions that I'm going to be Mr. Olympia by any stretch of the means. But you can I would like to see what myself or other people's potential is within a healthy realm, right? Otherwise, everyone will be Ronnie Coleman, right? So I think it's the process that is so addictive. Is you can do this 10 times. Not all 10 times are going to be the same, but you will learn something different every time you do it. And I think if you can figure out how to do less dramatic things or less drastic things that yield even better results, it's an endless process. And people, there's people that we follow that are down this route that are saying, look, if you would like to get the best out of yourself, you're going to have to take that approach, because by default, you do more, take more, everything's more. You're going to hit a wall very, very soon.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to that point where you hit that wall and not any coaches know what to do. Like, I can't go any deeper. I can't add any more. Like, so eventually you got to go, right, what is the alternative? Because they've got to reverse out of this at some point as well.
I think you just actually nailed it. Like, the exciting part is you've now unlocked this new potential that can go even further. If you just kept going more and more, you hit the wall, well, that's it. You're done, right? It's over. Let's just can it here and do something else. But to find out that there is a new door that you can unlock, and there's more things to learn, and there's progress on the table. And I think it does help to have somebody else in your corner to say, you're capable of way more than you think you are, because you don't know this yet. If you knew what I knew, you would be somewhere different by now. And I think it's just that I think back to your conversation about imposter syndrome and allowing yourself to be a little bit more open to mentors and listening. It's, can you unlock something for me that can allow me to jump forward, but without exhausting more resources? In fact, if anything, saving resources and just being more efficient with whatever I'm doing, whether that's PT or running a business or bodybuilding or whatever. Teach me how to do that. I think that's the exciting part. And to reflect on this lockdown stuff, it's incredibly frustrating, but there's a sense of fun to the fact that this is incredibly tough, and we're finding ways to get through this, not just to stay afloat, but to actually thrive and do well. There's something about that process that is enjoyable. And I think that's sort of where the mindset of bodybuilding, whatever, is very relatable to, let's keep finding a solution to adapting, to changing, to improving, and not just throwing money at a business. Like, you could just throw tons of money at a business and hope it grows. Well, you can take a different approach and just be more mindful, or being more efficient with things, or changing things that could be done better. That's very exciting, I think.
I've always admired the way you've run your business. And I said this to you earlier on, where you said you have a knack for finding rent deals, but it's not just rent. It's everything in your business where it's like, I'll look to be efficient before I just look at spending. And I think that doesn't mean that you're against the idea of spending, but I just think it's that ability. It's like, if I can make the most with the tools I have available right now, when I add a tool, it's going to be so much more impactful.
you've nailed it. I think if you have started off your business with a ton of money and exhausted the resources, it's very depressing to know this is the best that we can do. And if we get anything more, it's probably by luck, or it's just, we hope that we can do it. If you've done X amount with the least amount of tools in your toolbox, that's incredibly exciting to think, what could we do if we did decide to chuck, more tricks at this, and in this case, more money at something here or there. I think that's definitely the addiction towards, I don't think that I'm anywhere sort of in that realm of like a business leader or anything. I do not think that, because I think you have to, 10,000 hours to be a master at your craft. We're not there yet, anywhere near. But I do think if you look at other people, what they've done with their gyms or their businesses and their approach, it's so common when you see these people and they do that approach where I'm not relying on money. I'm relying on an idea, a passion, people that are really, really key to my business. And we're going to start there. Quality. If we can, there's not a single person who can say, this is my business, it's going to be like this, and in 10 years, it will be this. They've probably started with an idea and it's changed and it's evolved and it's moved a different direction, and someone else has come in and influenced it. And there's so many, you can't predict where it's going to be. But if we can get the foundation so solid that no matter what, pandemic issues and government restrictions are thrown at us, whether you're training outside and police are trying to stop you from training outside, it's like, this couldn't be a tougher field to thrive in. We have to pivot. We have to find different things. And again, not a single extra dollar has been thrown at that to get that. So when you eventually do, when you've got that successful thing that we finally stumble across, which might be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, when we find it and you throw money at it, it should be much better, hopefully.
Yeah,
I get there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, as you said this at the start, the first thing you wanted to do with it was have a gym that had quality. And I think that is the underpinning of a business that's there in 10 years, is that you, whether you have to pivot, like the gym that's focused on quality can have a lockdown and survive because its focus is on providing a quality service. The people that rely on money, what happens when that money is not providing anything? What happens when you exhaust that?
We've seen this. We've seen, our clients are based around results, right? They're not here to be carried through a workout, because as soon as a lockdown happens or a protest happens, that's not priority in their head, is to get a workout in. It's these clients have results in their forefront, and they're going to fight through a protest, or they're going to train outside, with unfavorable weather conditions and not optimal equipment at the disposal, because they're committed to the process with their trainer. And that in itself is a bulletproof business. Yes, it may not be optimal, but it will do well in the worst case scenario, which again, it comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast. Our attraction to the client that we want is the one that we can provide the most quality service to, not the masses. Because as soon as the lockdowns come in, the masses who you don't really pay much quality attention to, they can go just as fast as they came. Whereas the ones that we have genuine bonds with and really provide everything we can with them, out inside and out of the gym, they're also the ones that are going to stick through the tough times with you. And it's honestly been fantastic to witness that, and to see, all of our trainers' clients stay, committed to the process, no matter what curveball they've been thrown at. For the trainers to be committing to, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to drag equipment, I'm going to set this up, I'm going to change the program, I'm going to keep the client, accountable, motivated, and on track. That's not easy. If you didn't care about it, you wouldn't do that. You would not put yourself through that for close to 4 months now. It just wouldn't happen, right? But because they have that underlying, professionalism and quality, it's survived, and it will thrive in any circumstance.
Mm. So I've got a few closing questions for this podcast. I call them quick fire because they're a little bit more on the nose questions. But if you want to elaborate on anything that resonates with you, feel free to take as long as you need. It's not a quick fire answer. And the first one, I suppose, is a very on the nose, because I inspired by something you said earlier. You mentioned about bodybuilding, and you mentioned this pursuit of always never feeling like you're in the best shape, and focusing. A lot of people think I'll be happy when I get X, and bodybuilding is very much about the process. It's about doing those things every day to get to the same goal. And you said something very poignant of that. It was almost like you're never truly happy. Would you consider yourself happy?
I would actually consider myself very, very happy. And I only know that because I've been in places where I'm not happy that I thought would make me happy before. So I accept that I will never reach the goal and it will constantly move, but I'm in love with the process, and the happiness comes from the process, not the goal. So I definitely say I'm a happy person.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer. And I was listening to an episode of the Diver CEO with Stephen Bartlett with Jimmy Carr. And Jimmy Carr talks about his book, and he goes, he defined happiness as enjoying the passage of time. And that sums up a bodybuilding lifestyle in a nutshell, isn't it? It's enjoying the trains, it's enjoying the food, it's enjoying the things that most of us take for granted in the pursuit of something bigger.
Yeah. I think everyone can relate to the fact that at some point or currently they're so concerned, people are concerned about what other people think of them. And it's probably the biggest stress that most people have is what is that person's opinion of me, or what will those people think about me if I did this or didn't do this. I think as soon as you get to the point where you don't give I'm not at that point, but I'm much closer to the point where I don't give a fuck about what people think if I do this or don't do that, immediately happier. And I think that's a really tough place to be until you've gone through it and had a good conversation with yourself. Like, why am I doing that for that person who I don't even care about's approval? And once it's gone, you do feel very happy to admit that you do dips on a toilet seat before you walk out in front of the sevens.
Oh, I'm gutted. I'm just gutted about that. I haven't been to the sevens yet. So, moving on to this, what would you consider was your lowest moment in either business, bodybuilding, or even life, if that's the most relevant thing that comes to your head? And what did it teach you?
Really interesting question. And I think I'll be really honest with it. I think the lowest point I ever felt was when I got fired from my previous position in a gym. And I think because that was something that I took on so full on, I committed Monday to Sunday, 16 hours a day, and I wrote off everything else in my life in pursuit of this project to, own it and run it and thrive with it. Yeah. To then get, you're chucked out of that. I felt like everything had that's it, that's gone. Everything I've ever worked up to has now been pulled out from underneath me. And I think you spend a week in just anger and just pure rage. But I think it wasn't until someone and again, back to Bo, another reason why he's a really close mate, I reached out to him and said, how do I deal with this? Like, what would you do in this situation? And he very, very simply explained from a religious point of view, this is things like this. If you look at it in this and accept it in this way, God is doing this for you to move this out the way so that you can do better things. This thing was in your way and it was stopping you from becoming or doing what you want to do. And when I look back at every episode where I feel in my worst, something much better has come along. And if I look at where I am now versus where I was then, again, speaking about, I thought I was happy or, I thought I was doing what I wanted to do. I wasn't. And it wasn't until something pulled from underneath my feet to figure out that's not what I wanted to do. And I do think a lot of people need to get that reminder that sometimes you're not going to leave something that you think is good because you're already stuck in it. It's not, I know you're relating to something right now about that. Like, it's until someone pulls it from you that you can finally do what you want to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think sometimes you're so in your head and in the bubble that you don't really realize what's outside. You don't really realize your potential because you're so sort of in it. And as you said, we've both been fired from previous workplaces. And did you struggle to feel a bit lost afterwards? So I know I felt like I had 7 years in a place, and to get that pull from underneath you is a tough thing. And regardless of whether I was happy at the stage beforehand anyway, it's a big chunk of your life that sort of just disappears. Like, did you feel lost coming out of that? And what is it that helps you get back on your feet?
Yeah, I think 100%, you devote yourself to something so full on. That's part of your identity, right? That's who you are.
100%.
As soon as that's gone, you're like, well, what am I known as? Like, who am I again, back to what do people think about who I am? That was my main concern is, how do I look coming out of this and all that stuff. I think the thing that definitely helps you to come back is, for me in particular, was, again, I know what I want to do, and it's still in the same realm, but I know what I don't want to do. So I can cancel all that shit out. I can remove 50% of my thoughts. And if I solely commit myself, similar to bodybuilding, if I put my mind into something, I know that I'll be able to pull off some things that might seem too big of a stretch for other people. And again, that's not to be arrogant. That's just more to be like, let's set a high task, because I generally perform better when I've set a really high goal. Mm-hmm. So if we can eliminate the things I know I don't want to do, and I can focus on things I do, let's go all in and let's do as many hours as possible on the gym floor. Let's do as many hours on online training as possible. Let's get to a point where we can't do anymore. This is a great problem to have, and figure it out from then. And I think everyone has to go through that in whatever degree. And I think, for yourself, you said, the moment that happened to you, you unlock this creativity, and you can devote however many hours you want now to that, and say, I'm just going to figure out how far I can push it. It doesn't matter what it ends up in, it doesn't really matter, but I can do it now. And I'm going to show you where I can go. Yeah. I think that's what did it for me was, okay, let's see what I can do on my own.
Yeah, I think going back to like Bo's point with you, like, he obviously threw it on a religious connotation, and obviously I'm not a religious man, but I can certainly relate to that, Felicity, that, it's those moments where something happens that's not to plan, something that knocks you back, is those moments that show you what you're really made of. And the thing that summed this up to me is when I had Pat Davidson on the show. And I was wanting to talk about training and all the things that he's good at, and ended up talking about addiction and mental health. And he talked about like being, I don't know if you listened to that episode, but being like on a mountain, and it had the shadow on one side of the mountain. And I had issues before, relationships ending, and deaths in family that knocked me for six. All these little things, even just getting a good opportunity, but it just forced me so far out of my comfort zone. I always just remember in these instances that everything is temporary.
Yeah.
And in that situation, like if I'm feeling bad right now, there is light on the other side of this mountain. And it just gave me that focus to go, okay, let's get to work. And you realize in those times, it's like, okay, I can power through these moments. And there's sometimes it's just enough to keep your head above water long enough to see it through. I had similar things start this lockdown, really tough few things, which obviously I'm not going to bring up on here, but it was, but it was that going, right, that won't last forever. So if I keep my head above water, there'll be a time where things get easier, and I'll be so grateful that I stuck things out.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like exactly what we're going through now. This is not ideal times for, a gym business, but this will end. And on the other side, you'll be a much stronger version of what you were before it. And, unless you're challenged and thrown these things, you'll never develop. But I think the best analogy is there's always a guy that gets, breaks up with his girlfriend, and then he just gets absolutely shredded because he's like, I'm going to become a better version of myself. There's generally that kind of guy. And I think that's the relation, that sort of like the parallel that I draw when these things happen is you obviously either just sort of like accept it and sort of sit with it and that's who you are, or you say, I'm going to get fucking shredded. And again, another bodybuilding sort of, example there is in life that's if that kind of stuff happens, you've got to come back a little bit better just to show that you can. And I think that's a really, again, how I'd love to, not compete in 6 weeks with very unideal circumstances, but I'd love to just see if I can do better under those circumstances, just to prove to myself that I can, with no financial benefit, no, anything that people compete for, I don't care. But it's a really nice sort of thing to show that you're capable of these things, which will definitely push you forward. If it happens again, I'm pretty prepared for it.
What are you most proud of?
Oh, dude, I think this gym 100%. Like where I don't want to bore people with a story that it goes from such a long time ago, but every person that's in our gym, every trainer, every person who's helped with developing it, to carrying it forward, to carrying our logo in on their pictures, or to have our name in their profile, to help a client or whatever. like every person in that gym has gone through their own story, their own development, and their own issues, as we talked about. You know, I've had issues, you've had issues. We've all, you know, I know a ton of shit that Karen has gone through and everything.
Of course.
To be able to get to the point where you're all sort of, you know, combining all of your efforts and your experiences together to create something that you genuinely want to help people with. Not money is not in the forefront of your head. Everyone likes to earn money. Everyone would love to make more money in what they do, they love. Great. But the first thing in your mind is to create something that is benefiting people or is better than something that they're currently having.
Yeah.
We've all done that contribution under one roof, and we've all gone through the same challenges together. And I think to see us literally come out of it stronger than we were going into a lockdown has proven that people here are in it for much, much deeper reasons than just money. They genuinely want to put themselves in a place that they can help people. And I think we never expected to get to this point. We're what, like 15 trainers, 6,000 square foot, and we've never lost, you know, we've never lost any money. We've never required more money. We are in a place where we think this is purely us. Again, no help, no support, no, you know, life raft, anything. So that's purely on the people. That's not me. That's not one other person. That's a combination of everyone. So I would thoroughly say that this gym has been the most rewarding thing, the most, you know, sort of like, I think it's been the biggest achievement so far.
I think how many gyms in Hong Kong, maybe in the world, can not only say in that time throughout lockdown, we've been in lockdown, gym lockdown more than any other country, I think.
Yep.
And this one has been the longest of any. That you didn't only not lose any members of staff, but you gained members of staff in a challenging time. And that shows as a massive testament to the culture created and, you know, the family environment that you spoke about at the start. So like, what's the ultimate goal for HitBT?
Yeah, really good question. I think the one thing we always sort of come full circle and have a little reflection time is quality over quantity, right? That's always going to be sort of our motto when we go forward. And, you know, I think, you know, we've been offered a ton of things, which is really, really, really nice to hear. You know, people saying, you know, would you do one here, or would you do one here? Or, you know, we've got people who want to invest in this. And I think it's quite easy to grow a gym at this point. Like, you could have 20 people, you could have multiple locations, but you could definitely say the quality is taken down, you know, for that route. So we've happily passed off things that would sacrifice our quality. So I think at this point, if we grow beyond, you know, 2-3 gyms, I'm pretty happy. And I will definitely relate that back to the, you know, hit 180 pounds, then you want 200 pounds, you want more. But looking back at how we've done different things in different gyms and different, you know, circumstances, what we genuinely want in a working environment is quality people in a quality, you know, profession. And if anything promotes growth at the expense of quality, we're not going to do that. Because I think that's where you lose the love for it, right? Like, I've had many conversations with Josh, like, I don't want to be like Mr. Money and have yachts and, you know, talk about multiple mansions. Like, who wouldn't want that? That's great. But like, that's not happiness. I think that's genuinely just, you know, gold medal syndrome all the way. I think you're going to be happy with, you know, the journey. Same thing with bodybuilding. The journey to get a business up from zero to challenges to success is totally happiness.
Yeah, I think it's leaving with something on purpose. I was having the conversation with Sean Croxton yesterday in last week's episode about money matters and about, like, does money make you more happy? And in a way it does, because it allows you more freedom. But what do you have to give? What do some people give up in terms of the quality, in terms of what their purpose was in order to get more money? Is that worth it? Like, there's a massive difference between people who are born with wealth and how they mentally manage it, to people who have worked hard for something that has a greater purpose in themselves, who have made their money, and how they mentally deal with it. I personally think from obviously I'm not there, I can't speak from first-hand experience, but I could, from people I know and seen and researched, to have had those experiences.
Yeah, we have this conversation on a regular basis, and, you know, you and I think I would struggle to step away from the gym entirely, whether that's, in the sense of just as a business. It would be nice to not have to wake up at 4 a.m. and train, 8 people a day. Sure. But I would genuinely want to be involved in the gym, whether that's just being, as part of a trainer, an educator, a manager, whatever. I think it'd be very hard to step away from it because this is generally what we enjoy. And, you can go on holiday for a week and really love holidays, but by week 2, week 3, week 4, that feeling starts to grow. You're like, I don't want to do this. I want to be a part of it. I think actually, you know what? I did get that sort of clarity when leaving the previous gym is, okay, I do have options. I can join a gym or I can do my own thing. And my inclination was always to join a gym. I want to be part of a team. I want a family. I want to grow with people. I want to share that sort of, I want to share experiences with people. I don't want to be a lone wolf and just sort of in my own space doing my own thing. Like, it's kind of like, who cares? So for me, I think that's been the greatest fun, is actually just taking this opportunity with people. And like you said, we've added people and we've grown, the business and the family. And that's been the exciting part, is like more people are getting involved in the same thing that we want, and they want the same things. This is so much more exciting. I couldn't imagine like drifting off to nowhere and not having any involvement in the gym. That's where the fun ends, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could be living in Bali, messaging people cold DMs whether they're going to hook up with their clients or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we end this on an inside joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible. I couldn't resist.
No,
this has been really interesting. I think there's definitely, for people who don't know you, this is a really interesting insight into running a business during a hard time, getting in shape during difficult times, which was what we set out to achieve with this show. And for people that do know you, it's a peek behind the curtain, right? I think sometimes personal trainers, it's a little bit like the comedian, in the sense of people see the front of the comedian, see the happiness of it. And I think hearing about a personal trainer, or certainly someone that has to be the face of a business, you see the positive, you see the happy-go-lucky sort of guy that has to make the people around him feel good. And sometimes it's good to take that step back and realize those people who are running that show, or the person that's on the other side of the personal training session, is human too. Yeah, and I think that's a really powerful thing. So yeah, thank you for being so open and honest. It's been a really, really interesting chat. So where can people, obviously I know, but where can people listen to this find out about, HIT PT, whether in Hong Kong want to get, do training at the gym, or want to, is there a dude wanting to get jacked like you and want to reach out to you personally? Where do they find you and HIT?
Yeah, so obviously HIT PT is at HIT-PT, HIT-PT. We're located in Central in Hong Kong. So if you're personal training interest, you can come down and see us. I still do some online coaching. It's not the forefront, but it is still part of the passion. So they can sort of find me at James at HIT PT. So, I mean, besides that, thank you for having me on. Obviously, we're going to probably chat. Oh, no, you're away on Monday, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll chat at some point next week. But I think it's also like, having this conversation has actually made it very, very clear that, you and I are very, very similar. We've had very similar experiences, and we've gone down very similar paths. And it's no coincidence that we're obviously in the same gym at this point. There's definitely a very, very, aligned mentality of what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And I think generally, I think the most exciting thing is opening this gym again to see what we can do. Yeah. I think it will be a very, very exciting time. What was it? Thursday's education session was just, that's what I want to do. That's what I want us to do. So I'm very, very excited to get you back on the floor and teaching people and showing people what we can do.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoy getting stuck into Thursday's meeting. It will only get better once we can get on the gym floor and people can really start applying things directly, playing around with the equipment, using the gym, and 2 weeks and counting.
Yep, it's going to be good.
All right, man. Thank you very much, man. I will chat to you tomorrow, but thank you very much for coming on.
Yep, thank you, dude. Appreciate it.